And hello, and we are live with a Tridion live stream for June 2004. So thank you very much, everyone, for joining us today. I'm going to go through and show what we've got on the agenda. So first off, congratulations to our Tridion Docs colleagues. So 15.1 has been released, and it's a fabulous release, and there's so much in there. In fact, I would even say they should have called it Tridion Docs 16 because there's so much in terms of not just extra features on the Tridion Docs content authoring side, but then also on the delivery side, the Tridion Docs Genius is being introduced. And that is a sort of out of box portal which incorporates a really great AI system for doing searches, even having like a visual search in there. So for those Tridion Docs customers who are interested in just really loading up Tridion Docs, getting started with authoring, and really having a site out of the box, it's fabulous. So that's congratulations to that team. As well, I want to say that if you go to the community, you'll see that we've updated and published the Q2 roadmap for Tridion Sites. Of course, we're talking a lot about Tridion Sites 10.1. And in fact, just 30 minutes ago, I saw a demonstration of some of the Blueprint 3.0 features that we're going to be releasing as part of Tridion Sites 10.1. And I think next month and next live stream, I'm going to do a demo of some of those features because they're really, really impressive. And it's going to change the way people are going to model their content. And then finally, today, we're going to start off with a panel. I'm going to bring on Alvin and Velu, and we're going to talk about Tridion Sites 10 performance, and we're going to be talking about a customer of ours who's made the shift to Tridion Sites 10, and we'll talk about the performance there. So let me go ahead, and I am going to go backstage and bring them both on. All right. Velu and Alvin, welcome to the live stream.
Hello. Hi, Alvin. Hi, Craig.
Hello.
So, first, there's a little housekeeping note. Some people might have seen in the news that our CEO is going to be stepping down in 2025. So, and I think that that's something that people should understand a little bit how we're organized within RWS. So, within RWS, we've got different types of groups. We've got an intellectual property group. We've got a group for language services. We've got our content group, which actually where there's multiple different products for content management. So it doesn't really affect trading customers that much, but I just wanted to make sure that we were sort of clear and transparent that there'll be a new CEO who's going to take over. My thoughts are pretty positive in terms of what Ian has done for the company in terms of like process improvements and even like shepherding some an AEI team to sort of review and bring along some extra initiatives around explaining what we do with AI. So those were my thoughts. Alvin, Velu, do you guys have any thoughts around Ian's expected departure in 2025?
One of the things was the shift in focus to products. So that over the years, we've been growing. We've had acquisitions, and under Ian's watch, one of the things was we have a focused content line, and we're seeing some of the benefits of that.
Yeah.
One of the initiatives that you worked on was the Tridion.com
Right.
website URL. We finally got that, and that wasn't directly Ian's to his credit, but that was something that happened under his watch and that direction. So we wish him the best.
Yeah,
Going
absolutely.
forward. But it's still we still have the rest of the year with him.
Yeah, and it's not going to be like some abrupt sudden change. So he's going to be there for a transition period, etc. And also, I've been answering a couple of RFPs recently, and there's a whole sort of process maturity that I think has taken place in terms of, a lot of our procedures that we have and that have been sort of kept behind the scenes are now like available on the website if you want to see like support policies, if you want to see like release management policies, etc. So I think that level of transparency in terms of like what we do is very important, and I think that was something that came under his leadership. So that was also an important point for me, at least. Cool. Well, should we talk about our customer? And so this is a trend that we're seeing. Like, lots of our customers are moving on to Tridion Insights 10, and not only do they get all the new features with Tridion Insights 10 and the benefits, and they're starting to use the new user interface, which is making everybody excited. But then there's this whole aspect about like the delivered website and the performance that you can get out of the delivered website. And I guess a couple months ago, I put a little screenshot of the EVA Airlines website, and they scored like a 100 on some of the pages when you do the analysis in Google Lighthouse, which is just for me like unbelievable. So Velu and Alvin, do you guys want to talk about like some of your experiences in terms of moving people up to Tridion Sites 10, and then also at the same time like improving the performance of the website?
Yeah,
Yeah,
sure.
Velu, I think you have a story on delivery side, and I can talk a little bit on CM. If you want
Sure.
to
Yeah.
go first, that'd be great.
Okay, that I can go ahead. Yeah, this I can share one of the customers, European industrial machinery company. So we recently had an opportunity to upgrade them from 9.6 to 10 and then we also want to ensure that the main focus for performance improvements because we want to migrate many websites into that the current infrastructure. So we want to understand the current infrastructure can handle more traffic and then looking at the new features. So the objective on the performance side, the test focus, we did some evaluated some kind of readiness of the infrastructure handling the high traffic volumes, and then yeah, we also made a subjective to say, hey, access the performance during the publishing. We want to ensure we should be able to do mass publishing, and we want to ensure that during the mass load, we should be able to normally release any activity releases during the high load. Those are the key requirements. Also, we wanted to ensure that that's how it was fit into sites time, and then we looked at a couple of testing. We compared, and of course, we also did the same test against sites 9.6 also.
Uh-huh.
So we had the data, so we were able to actually compare both the report, and then it was very, very much improvement because we see 90% response time compared to 9.6, and it's also highlighted it's more, yeah, it's the our response time with the integrated with the CDN, and we have noticed with comparing with 9.6 and side stand, there was a 57% increase. So it
So,
was
sorry,
very
did you
much.
say 57%?
Yeah, it's
I
yes.
mean, that's
So, yeah,
that's an unbelievable number to go from like one version to another and then have a 57% like performance increase. I mean, and I think there's a lot to be said about, as people are moving up to Tridion Sites 10 to actually incorporate some of these strategies in order to improve the performance. And I'm glad that RPS, has a lot of skills in terms of doing those and then testing it and then proving to the business, hey, this is why it's worth it to use RWS professional services, because we know the web, we know how all these things work, and we can increase that performance.
yeah, indeed. So, yeah, the most we actually follow certain performance management methodology internally with the process services for customer to follow the new projects. We always make sure that we implement the efficient content model, makes streamline the content creation and the delivery,
Hmm.
and we always design the system to make sure that it's more scalable architecture with the TXA, with the TXT, because it's all microservices container setup. And we also, part of this upgrade, we also upgraded our pack to the latest TXA 2.3. That's also we set it up everything in container setup, integrated with CDN, Cassandra, CloudFront, and and then yeah, of course we make sure that everything and external systems, the services, we developed connector to seamlessly integrate. Example, tab system. If we have some other
Sure.
external system to connect with, and to ensure that this shouldn't be impact our web performance on that. And then we applied many applied performance optimization techniques like basic loading, asynchronous processing with APIs, and to use as many places efficient way to query and computation. We also use some computation caching strategy
Yep.
where necessary, but and then then the performance we conducted the load test, stress test, scalability test to ensure the
Sure.
application handles the expected traffics, and and then we also time to time we review the performance reviews. So we will conduct regular performance reviews and audits to identify if there's areas for improvements during the release or upgrades. We will keep improving it, and then we also integrate a kind of continuous integration deployment with our all our releases to continuously monitoring the performance
Right.
and metrics, and then we can easily identify during every releases, hey, if there is any degrading of performance of every releases, there is also best practice. We put in place continuous monitoring setup, tools to track all the performance metrics and analytics on the user behavior, and that's helped us to bring this better performance system. So these are
That's
the
great. That's
yeah.
great. That's a very
Mm.
impressive story. I have a question. So, because DXA 2.3 was released not too long ago, so are they the first ones to go live on DXA 2.3?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So, another important milestone that's there. So Alvin, about the other sort of side of performance, do you want to talk about performance and content management?
Yes. And I just want to follow up on what Velus was saying about regression. At times, I've been in the position where you're looking at the performance of something, and as a baseline, you try to make sure it's not much worse than before. It's on par with before, and over time, that leads to things getting slowly slower over time. But it's really nice to see that in Velo's case and in the case I'm going to share about, things are significantly better.
Hmm.
um, on the content manager side, what I've been seeing with customers switching over to the templateless approach or the data pipeline
Yep.
approach. So that's the out of the box JSON that gets published from Tridion sites. Under the hood, Tridion sites is still XML. The components is stored as XML. But when it gets published, you can get free JSON as part of the publishing
Hmm.
process. And the way this works is when you publish, things that need to also get published get resolved
Hmm.
to get into the queue. And rendering happens on each of the items. That's your template logic. So that's template building blocks, TBBs. This is what they call traditional content management. That runs on all the items.
Yep.
Your content is transported and eventually stored and deployed. I'm not sure if it's value if it's store and deploy or deploy and store, the order there. Um,
Yeah.
but what we've seen is publishing times dropping to perhaps half or even fewer seconds, less time for those items because there's no templating going on. And so you look at a customer and you're used to seeing so many dozens or hundreds of items of things being published a minute, and that cuts down significantly because it's just the code to transform your source
Right.
content into the JSON that we provide out of the box. And on top of this, because you can pick what data is getting published, all the backend content is being skipped, and the packages themselves are smaller. Bill, I don't know if you've seen in transport package like how much smaller that JSON is compared to the rendered templated stuff.
Right. Right.
So that's kind of impressive. These are one of those things where you have to kind of rethink how the system performs
Hmm.
on publishing, on delivery. And I hate to tout it. No, I love talking about experience space and on the UI,
Yes.
because in our heads we have ideas of, oh, how big of a list, how many items,
Right.
and you have to kind of rethink that and go, no, things are different. The UI has a new framework. We have dataless publishing that it uses the same JSON, and so the whole stack end to end is different. Um, so it's a time to kind of rethink
Yeah.
what performance means with Tridion sites.
Well, it's interesting that you mentioned the experience space part of it too. I think that when we are introducing the new UI to existing customers who've been using the classic, UI for years, and when somebody's used to using something old and familiar, they don't necessarily want to change. But experience space is so amazing in terms of how fast everything loads, and not only do you have to do less clicks in order to see information, like that right hand panel is amazing because you can preview content without having to open it up. But then also the UI is just much less chatty than the older UI, where there was like much more loading and refreshing and things like that. It's very impressive. So I love working in the new UI, and I think that soon we'll get all the stragglers to use the new UI instead of the older one.
Yeah, we can't call it new anymore. It's the not
Well, yeah,
not so new UI. For editors, and some customers are trying to go completely over to just experience space. And I was talking with our developers on that and the product team. And you still need the classic UI for administrative tasks.
hmm,
You can't switch over completely, but for the daily editorial tasks, you know that's where you can focus on experience space and get the benefits and value out of it.
yeah, completely.
Yeah, at least in the side stand, I would say, yeah, this is the best full pack version for editors with all the workflow, translation, and everything can be done experience based without switching to previous legacy versions. Yeah. Because the
Yeah,
legacy version is very often used by administrative people like creating schema and then configuration stuff. But the most of the day-to-day activities to be done, everything fully on the experience base, which
right.
is in site stand now, so also allows to create a couple of the UI extensions with a framework. You can create a couple of extensions to customize the new UI the way you want it, to have context menus and buttons. And of course, we created a couple of format area CSS extensions in the new UI
Hmm.
because yeah, in the classic UI, editors want to select some what you see, what you want to get the way output on in the web app. So we can also scale it in the editors, and that now it was not possible in the previous versions. And then yeah, it is with the experience page in the site stand with the new framework with the UX update, and we were able to create the RN packages to customize. Now they are able to do everything in the new UI, and they can able to send translation and then workflow. Everything can be done in the new UI.
Very
And
cool.
the one important on the improvements area also,
Hmm.
I would like to mention about the side stand is actually introduced a new caching mechanism
Hmm.
using the Apache Ignite. The replacing the old implementation, it was actually used a cache channel service with the Java JVMs, JMS with the ActiveMQ, and that's now it's only being used for deploy queue, but not not for caching invalidation, because caching invalidation actually in the side stand they use a new caching mechanism, which works perfect, I would say, and
Wow.
that also gives better improvements. Why it's compared to 9.5 and side stand, and the huge performance improvement in the performance contribution.
That sounds great. Yeah, and that's the thing that I'm always very impressed with. I usually am focused on some of the front end features and the new, like, bells and whistles and new things that you can do. But I think every single release we come up with new performance improvements in the product in multiple areas. So in the areas of caching, in the areas of publishing, and in the areas of like the user interface. So I think we're at the 20-minute mark here. Is there any final thoughts, or I guess, or we can wrap up and see if there's any questions. I don't see any questions on the in the chat. So I think we can wrap this thing up. Uh, any other thoughts, or we'll say goodbye until next month.
Just really quick ones on that last performance thing is on the CD side. On the experience space, there was also an update on how the UI gets updated. So again, performance end to end, and I feel like we're dueling banjos with Velu talking about CD and me talking about the CM. Um, and the other thing about Apache Ignite, this is 2 points here, really quick. Uh, One is it's a standard out of the box component. So historically, we've managed all our own caching. Ben was explaining this to us, and then by moving to Apache Ignite, it's one fewer thing that we have to spend and focus our development efforts on. Getting caching just right
Right.
in our situation. So by using this, we it makes it easier and faster for us to develop the features that excite you, Greg. And also I would call it CD caching. So this is a thing where a lot of times we get focused on the technology. Someone will call the search elastic or open search, and that's the technology. In the same way, we don't call the content manager the SQL database. We call it the content manager. And under the hood, as a customer, or if you're using us as a service, it doesn't matter what the technology is to an extent. We offer you the product, the service, and everything on top of that, including the performance benefits we've been talking about. So that's CD caching. And for those who know, yes, under the hood, it's Apache Ignite as of 10
Right.
for now, right?
Ignite to excite. Yes.
There you go. There you go. Ah,
All
very
right.
nice.
So yeah, with that dad joke, I think we'll end it. Thank you, Velu, and thank you, Alvin, and we'll catch everybody next month as we continue through the live stream, and we'll get a sneak peek of Blueprinting 3.0. Thanks, everyone.
Yeah,
Bye.
yeah, thank you,
Cheers.
Craig.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.
Cheers.